Maya Fahayom Shabbat Shalom Maya Fahayom Shabbat Shalom Maya Fahayom Shabbat Shalom Maya Fahayom Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to July. We begin our celebration of Shabbat with the lighting of candles. And if you are following along in your Siddur, we will be on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And now, your ears are not deceiving you. We do not have piano this Shabbat evening. Okay, so your sound is working fine. I just wanted to assure you all. Anyways.
We continue with our Kabbalat Shabbat service on page 130 with L'chu Neranena. Since we are without other instruments, our voices will combine to sing a song to God.
Absolutely. L'chu neranena l'Adonai, nari al tzur yishenu. Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, baruchu shemo, basru miyom leyom yeshuato, sapru v'goyim kevodo, bechol amim niflotav. Yalai, 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 yalalai, lalai, haylai, yalai, nai, haylai, yalai, yalai, haylai, yalalai, haylai, yalai, haylai, lalai, yalai, haylai, haylai, yalalai, haylai, lalai, haylai, lalai, yalalai.
Sing praise to Adonai with the lyre and melodious song, with trumpets and the blast of the horn. Raise a shout before Adonai, the ruler. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the world and its inhabitants. Let the rivers clap their hands, the mountains sing joyously together at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly, and its peoples with equity. Zamru Adonai, page 134.
Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatotrot v'kol shofar. Harihu lifnei hamelech Adonai, Yiram hayam umlo, tevel ve'yosh ve'eva, hayayin neharot yimcha chaf, av yachad harim yiraneinu, lifnei Adonai kiva, yishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel betzedek, ve'amim ve'meisharim. Yiram hayam umlo, tevel ve'yosh ve'eva, Haida neharot yimcha chaf, av yachad harim yiraneinu, av yachad harim yiraneinu.
And we turn to page 136 for Psalm 29, Mizmor LeDavid.
Mizmor LeDavid, Avul Adonai b'nei Elim, Avul Adonai kavod va'oz, Avul Adonai kavod shemo, Yishtachavu Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim, El hakavod hirim, Adonai, Adonai, Amayim Rabim, Kol שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון, ויקידם כמו עגל לבנון וסיריון כמו ונעימים. כל אדוני חוצב להבות אש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יכול לעלות, ויחשוף יערות, ובהיכלו כולו אומר כבוד, אומר כבוד, אומר כבוד, כולו אומר כבוד. אדוני למבול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום.
We think about Shabbat entering as a bride, one who is full of anticipation of what can be. We turn to the door to welcome her towards the end of our worship. And so we invite you to turn to page 138 for Lecha Dodi. We will sing verses 1, 2, 4, 5.
1, 2, 5, 6, and 9.
And as we get ready for verse 9, we will rise if we are able and face the entrance of either your room or our sanctuary as we enter Shabbat.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'ribur echad, השמיענו אל המאוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, שמו לתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שתדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי. בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עירת הילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה. בני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה. בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה. בני שבת נקבלה.
You may be seated. We turn to one more psalm, Psalm 92, another song for Shabbat. You get the feeling that Shabbat is meant to be sung through and bringing that melody of the extra soul that we are given for this special 25-hour period. And so, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, sing a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai with all the different means we know, and especially with our souls, which express themselves through song.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. צדיק כתמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא עוולת בו.
We mark the distinction between Kabbalat Shabbat, welcoming Shabbat, and our evening service, our Ma'ariv service, by chanting the Chatzi Kaddish, which you can find on page 144.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
בעלמא יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי תקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בהלמה, ואמרו Amen.
We think about the importance of community, all those who come together to honor Shabbat, our God, our country, Israel, and ourselves. There are certain prayers for which you must have a minyan, a critical mass, and Baruch Hu is one of those. And so we look around and see within our congregation that we do have a minyan. And so we rise, if we are able, for the Baruch Hu, which can be found on page 146.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim.
Amen.
With the physical universe in mind, we turn our thoughts inward for a prayer about love. We are not in this world without love. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper to find it, but by opening our hearts, we can, in fact, find that everlasting love that God offers us. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Amen.
We close our eyes, focus inward for that love, the acknowledgement that though we ourselves are diverse and may not always be unified, Adonai is one, unique, separate, and yet together. We turn to the Shema together.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. We continue on page 154. Please join me wherever you are. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We continue silently on page 156.
When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Our Song of Redemption, Mi Chamocha, page 158.
Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar bakodesh. Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Elai dai malchutecha, ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe Miriam. Eli yanu ve'amru, oy zel yanu ve'amru, ay lay 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 ay lay lay ay lay 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 ya lay 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 ay lay lay ay lay 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 ay lay malchutecha Ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe Miriam. Ze'eli amnu ve'amru, ozel yanu ve'amru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar kivat Adonai et Yaakov, u'galo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch at Adonai, Goel Yisrael.
Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. As evening falls, and for some of you, evening has already fallen. For some of us, it is still light outside. We anticipate darkness. Sometimes darkness can be physical. Sometimes it can be spiritual. And if you are feeling the darkness, I invite you to find comfort in the words of Hashkivenu, which asks God to spread a canopy of peace over us to keep us safe throughout the night. It's like when we were children and our parents would pull the covers up and tuck us in. And so we join together on page 160 with Hashkivenu, followed by the Shamru.
Ushmor tzedenu, uvaenu, l'chaim u'l'shalom, me'ata ve'ad olam, ufros aleinu, Sukkot Shalom Lecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Haborei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני השמיים ואת הארץ, את הארץ. וביום השביעי, וביום השביעי, שבת וינחש.
We start our tefillah with asking God to open our mouths that our lips may declare God's glory. The tefillah begins on page 164, and I invite you to rise if you are able.
Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid, ufi yagid, tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. We are on the bottom of page 180. Yihu l'ratzonim refi v'higyoni bi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel bimru. Amen.
We add the words of the Misha Berach to our prayers, asking God for healing for those who are in need of body or mind or spirit, those who suffer from addictions, those who are mourning the loss of someone or something. It's not out of the realm of possibility that we offer prayers for ourselves. We don't just pray for others. And so if there is a name to be added and brought into our community, please feel free to write a name into the chat box. We will check Facebook and YouTube later, but if there's a name on Zoom that we can read out loud, we can do that.
Zucker, are there any names?
I'll add the name of Joan Friedman.
And I'm thinking of Marla Kazin. Yisheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We ask God for a refuah shlema, a speedy and complete healing. We say amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom once again. Is the sound okay? I feel like I have to say that. It's a 7-year tradition, right? Thumbs up. Everything okay, Lila? Mark? Yes, okay, good. Through a wonderful coincidence, this week's Parsha and the 4th of July fall on the same weekend. Parshat Korach tells the story of a Levite, a leader among the Hebrews wandering the desert, who arises and leads a democratic-style revolution against the leadership of Moses and Aaron. It is apparent that Korach is really disturbed that he has been cut out of the priestly leadership, when by birthright he should have been next in line. And brothers Aaron and Moses have kept it all to themselves. However, Korach didn't read his book of Genesis. For if there is one theme about the law of inheritance among our people, it is that the firstborn's birthright counts for very little. Abraham passes over firstborn Ishmael to name Isaac as heir. Isaac is tricked by Jacob into passing over the elder twin Esau. Reuben is usurped by Joseph. Jacob literally switches his hands when he blesses his grandsons Manasseh and over and over. But it is not your merit that raises to their position. Korach's real motive may be selfish and motivated from a sense of birthright and a lust for power. But on the face of it, his arguments against Moses' ruleship are ones that no democratic, right-minded citizen of America can resist, especially on the 4th of July. In fact, Moses' government was an absolute totalitarian dictatorship supported by a class system and backed by claims of divine authority. The very best we could say about Moses' government over the Israelites is material and civic lives is that there were some democratic instincts. The court system with tens, hundreds, and thousands, which established a partly representative government. But in the end, it was Moses' word which was the ultimate and inarguable word of law, a rule of divine right. To the multitudes, Moses was indistinguishable from any other pharaoh who claimed transcendent authority to claim without justification power for him and his family. Korach's arguments were so persuasive even then, when there was no successful model for rebellion in all of history, except maybe Moses' slave revolt against Pharaoh, that he convinces 250 other leaders to rise up against Moses. And after he loses his case in dramatic fashion, with the earth instantly opening to swallow him and his followers, that all the other Israelites still complained to Moses that he is tyrannical and cruel. The only thing that should have mattered was their newfound freedom and the holy mission that was the promise of it. But they had proven over and over again that they were more concerned with their material comfort and safety than thundering miracles in the desert. They want cucumbers and garlic and fish instead of divine manna. They are afraid for the promised land. They are a swarm of newly liberated slaves who can't liberate their own minds from their bodily needs. One could even argue that Korach was a prophetic genius, since this was the first time in history we ever hear any document record arguments for universal equality under law. We read, "You take too much power, since all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then do you lift yourself above the rest?" A concept which Western culture couldn't rediscover for another 3,000 years until the Enlightenment and writers like John Locke in the 18th century. Isn't every Jew divine? Who are you, Moses, to rule us with this dictatorship of divinity? Furthermore, unlike the spies and the crowd of Israelites who want garlic and fish instead of the manna, Korah strikes a high note by acknowledging holiness and appealing to the divine mission of the Israelites. What gives you a corner on the market of holiness? Didn't God say we are all holy people? Have we been freed from slavery from one Pharaoh just to serve another? Adding to the conversation is our American bedrock ideal of the separation of church and state. In every country where Jews have lived during the diaspora, we were a minority. Sooner or later, the fact is that ours is not the official religion of the state, and that catches up with us. When ruled by others, the usual results are our tragic history. Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Italy, England, Russia, Germany, every Muslim state. It is not until Western civilization evolves to recognize the equality of every individual under the law, independent of religion, that this cycle of state-sponsored persecution and discrimination is broken. Yet in Moses' system, Aaron and Moses are the sole proprietors of the Holy of Holies, and Moses' word is the final law. Moses' government in the desert is an autocratic theocracy. Punishment for violations are almost always death on a mass scale, as Korah and the death of the spies are the incident of the manna revolt, when God kills hundreds of thousands of Israelites proved. The challenge of our Parsha and of Korah can be addressed with two possible approaches. First is the problem posed to our secular selves. For us, totalitarian theocracies are vile. We have seen plenty of evidence throughout history that they universally operate to oppress and murder their citizens. On this 4th of July, we should be grateful for living in the U.S., which enshrines equality and freedom into the Constitution, even to the point of respectful challenge of the words and actions of our government. The second, though, is for the part of ourselves that showed up here to shul tonight for this Shabbat, and for those who support the existence of the Jewish community. This is the part that aspires to be ruled by the laws of God. The key to this approach is privacy. If every person is autonomous and equal under the law, then each of us has the right to a different set of beliefs, as long as it doesn't motivate us to behave outside the secular law. The state has set limits on itself. There are some places into which it cannot pry. It cannot look into a person's heart, force confession to the secrets there, put those on trial, and demand conversion to this or that belief and compel the behaviors that follow from them. Thank God. It cannot spy into someone's home or heads or hearts, nor, if they are guided by it, their souls. The rule of people stops at the limits of body and soul. At that slippery border, this parsha tells us today the rule of God reigns. Internalize the rule of law, the rule of God, and aspire to give it absolute authority. In the eternal empire of our spirit, where most of us are wandering in a wilderness, we should aspire to be governed by the words of Torah. The Israelites in the desert have struggled and failed apocalyptically so far to learn this awesome and difficult ideal. As the spies and the rabble, and now Korach and his followers prove, they can't quite do it. The protagonists all die. The rest are now doomed to wander for another 39 years. I dare say most of us rehearse the Korach-Moses drama in our lives as we try to negotiate the demands of a secular life with our soul's yearning and aspiration. As we prepare to observe and celebrate our secular Day of Independence this Monday, may we remember that being independent is reliant on community, cooperation, and direction. The balance of equality and freedom, tempered with compassionate authority, is the key to preserving our democratic ideals as we live our lives according to our American values and Judaism's mitzvot. O God and God of our ancestors, receive our prayer for this land which we love. Pour out your blessing on this nation and on everyone in our government. Give those who serve our country innate appreciation for the Torah's principles of justice and peace. Help them to see your face in every constituent. Cultivate in them and in us the sense that we are all one family, obligated to care for each other with kindness and compassion. Banish hatred from our hearts and from the hearts of our elected officials. Help us to make this country a light unto the nations. May it be your will, our God and God of our generations, that this nation be a blessing to all who dwell on earth. Help us to enact the words of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And let us say, Amen. Our service continues on page 586.
I gotcha. Hang on.
86 or 88? How many vote for 86?
88.
Okay. I was going to take a vote. It's a democracy after all.
Not really. It's just the two of us.
Okay. Wait a minute. We have a congregation.
We do. Who
Okay.
can't quickly respond. Okay.
Go ahead.
V'hashevota
V'hashevota
el levavecha
el levavecha
ki Adonai
ki Adonai
hu ha'Elohim
hu ha'Elohim
אותה,
והשב אותה
אל לבביך,
אל לבביך,
כי אדוני
כי אדוני
הוא האלוהים,
הוא האלוהים,
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated if you are standing. We turn our thoughts now to those whose time on earth has ended, those we recall in our hearts, those who may not have someone to say Kaddish for them. If you are in the first week of mourning, Shiva, the first 30 days, Shloshim, the first year of mourning, or if you are observing a yortzeit, I invite you to mention the name of your loved ones in the chat box and rise.
I'm in the Shloshim period for Jonathan and Kazan.
Join our mourners. Offer our love and compassion as we turn to page 598 for the Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma tivarach hirutei, ve'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Amen. May the one who sends peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen.
Amen.
We now turn to
122
for Vayachulu and the Kiddush, which will be led by Gabrielle, and she magically pulls out the Kiddush cup. If you have a Kiddush cup handy, we invite you to lift your, I see Mark has one. There you go.
בערב ויבוקר יום השישי ויחו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת לחיים.
And since Shabbat is a time of blessings, we bless our family members. So I invite you to either look at your child or imagine your child. Yes, that is you, Ms. Newman. And over our sons, we say, Yisimcha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chimenashe. May God make you to be as the sons Menashe and Ephraim. Over our daughters, we say, Yisimech Elohim kisara Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May God make you to be like our daughters, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, like our matriarchs, actually. And over each of us, if you look towards each other, we say, Yivarechecha Adonai v'Yishmerecha. May God bless us and keep us. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's countenance shine upon us and be gracious to us. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha lachem lanu shalom. May God lift up God's countenance upon us and grant us the greatest gift of all, the gift of peace. We wish Gabrielle a Nesia Tova as she embarks on her adventure with her cohort, Rachel White, this week as they travel to Israel for a wonderful educational program. Bring back the sun, the moon,
And
the
everything in between.
and peace. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We close our service with Shalom Rav, which can be found on page 178 in your Siddur, or if you know it by heart, that's fine too.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol et u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning,
for
Torah
Shacharit
study.
Shel Shabbat.
Torah study at 9.